Imagine this. It's the year 1966. Television sets across the world interrupt regular programming with footage from the Soviet Union. The broadcast shows something moving across the Caspian Sea at an astonishing speed. At first glance, it looked like it refused to fit into any known category of aircraft or ship. This machine does not rise into the sky like a conventional airplane, neither it does sit in the water like a vessel. Instead, it skims just above the surface. It is faster than most naval ships and larger than anything designed to fly at that altitude. For Western observers, the images are unsettling. Intelligence agencies begin rechecking satellite photographs. What seems here is that the Soviet Union appears to have built something entirely new, a machine designed to challenge the very assumptions of aviation itself. What the audience was witnessing in 1966 was not a conventional aircraft program, nor a naval experiment in disguise. It was the visible result of an idea that had been quietly developing inside the Soviet Union for more than a decade. It was an idea rooted in Cold War anxiety. The concept behind the machine was deceptively simple. When a wing flew extremely close to the surface of water, the air beneath it became compressed, creating additional lift. This phenomenon, known as ground effect, had been understood since the early days of aviation. Western engineers largely treated it as a limitation to be managed during takeoff and landing. Soviet engineers, however, began asking a different question. What if an aircraft could live permanently inside that cushion of air? The man who pursued that question more relentlessly than anyone else was Rostislav Alexeyev. A naval engineer by training, Alexeyev had already earned recognition for his work on hydrofoils, high-speed vessels that lifted their hulls out of the water to reduce drag. His designs transformed river and coastal transport across the Soviet Union. If videos like this fascinate you, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We dive deep into in-depth aviation stories. By the late 1950s, Alexeyev began advocating for a new class of vehicle. It would not be a ship, nor it would be an airplane. Rather, it would be something in between. The Soviets would later call these machines as Ekranoplans. Flying in ground effect, they promised aircraft-like speed with ship-like payload capacity, all while remaining below radar horizons. At first, the ideas struggled to find support. The Soviet military establishment was deeply compartmentalized. It raised questions like, did the aircraft belong to the Air Force or to the Navy? Alexeyev's creation fit neatly into neither category, but the strategic appeal was impossible to ignore. An Ekranoplan could skim over the sea at hundreds of kilometers per hour, carry massive loads, and evade detection until it was dangerously close to its target. Eventually, approval came for an experimental prototype. That prototype would later become known in the West as the Caspian Sea Monster. Officially designated the KM, the machine was enormous. With a wingspan comparable to a strategic bomber and a takeoff weight exceeding most aircraft of its era. It was powered by a row of jet engines mounted forward, designed to blow air beneath the wings during takeoff. Once airborne in ground effect, fewer engines were required to maintain cruise. Trials began on the Caspian Sea in the early 1960s. From the start, the KM demonstrated capabilities that stunned observers. It reached speeds previously unheard of for vehicles operating at sea level. It carried payloads that would have crippled conventional aircraft attempting to fly so low. And it did so while remaining largely invisible to contemporary radar systems. It was these trials that eventually drew the attention of the United States. American reconnaissance satellites captured images of the KM during testing. Analysts initially struggled to interpret what they were seeing. The scale was difficult to judge. The configuration made little sense. Some suspected a deception. Others believed it was a crashed aircraft being towed. When repeated images confirmed movement and operation, concerns spread quickly. Did the Caspian Sea Monster truly challenge American aviation? In conventional terms, no. It was not a replacement for bombers, fighters, or transport aircraft. It could not climb, maneuver freely, or operate inland. But it challenged something more fundamental. For the U.S. Navy, the implications were unsettling. An Ekranoplan could theoretically deliver troops, missiles, or equipment across vast distances faster than any ship, without the vulnerability of traditional aircraft. It blurred the line between naval and air power in a way Western doctrine had not anticipated. Despite its promise, the KM was never destined to become an operational weapon. The trials revealed serious limitations. Ground effect flight demanded extreme precision. In 1980, after years of testing, the KM was lost in an accident during a maneuvering error. It was never recovered. By then, Alexiev's health was declining, and so was institutional support for his vision. The Soviet military shifted focus towards submarines and conventional aviation. Smaller Ekranoplans did enter limited service, most notably the Lewin-class missile carrier, but none achieved the transformative impact. The collapse of the Soviet Union effectively ended large-scale Ekranoplan development. The Caspian Sea Monster faded into legend, remembered mostly through grainy satellite images and declassified intelligence reports. Yet the idea never truly died. In the decades that followed, engineers around the world revisited ground effect flight with fresh perspectives. Advances in materials and automation addressed many of the problems that plagued early designs. Civilian applications emerged, particularly in cargo transport and rapid logistics across remote coastal regions. Today, several countries are quietly experimenting with modern Ekranoplan concepts. These designs are smaller and more efficient. Autonomous control reduces pilot workload or the use of hybrid propulsion, which improves range and reliability. What once required a Cold War superpower can now be attempted by private firms and research institutes. The future of the technology remains uncertain. Ekranoplans will never replace aircraft or ships entirely, but they occupy a unique niche. In an era defined by contested coastlines, rapid response requirements, and fuel efficiency concerns, the logic that drove Alexiev has returned. Looking back, the Caspian Sea Monster was never just an experimental machine. It was a declaration that aviation did not have to be confined to the sky, and naval power did not have to remain bound to the sea. It represented a moment when engineers dared to redefine the boundaries between domains. In 1966, viewers watching those flickering television images could not have known the full story. They only knew they were seeing something strange and unfamiliar, something that did not fit into any category. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you on the next flight.